Shock, fear, and consternation grips the inhabitants of the Mao neighborhood in Limbe, Papua division of the restive southwest region, following the gruesome murder and the mutilation of a young woman who is yet to be identified by local and administrative authorities. Moreover, her mortal remains have been deposited at the Maiwan Regional Hospital by council authorities for preservation, safekeeping, and proper identification, while investigation is still ongoing by local police forces. Meantime, 10 Cameroonian ministers, Minister of Livestock, Fishing and Animal Husbandry, Dr. Tiger, will be presiding over a ceremony today, Tuesday, wherein his ministry will sign an agreement to partner with the Commercial Bank of Cameroon in the implementation of livestock and fish farming value chain development fund. The ceremony will take place at the Hilton Hotel in Yaoundé, which will be followed by the official development plan for the dairy sector with support from GIZ. In this edition of the news, we shall also be talking about the new state employee and payroll management systems, which has been implemented by the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform, Joseph Le, who has highlighted some major changes that will accompany the new system. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the news on CAM1 Radio. 99.5 FM is the frequency. Welcome to the news. Welcome again to CAM1 Radio, ladies and gentlemen, and we are going to start this new session today with the Senior Divisional Officer of PACO, Viang Mekala, who continues to boost the initiative of patriotism. He was speaking to 613 trainees, second-class soldiers of the Rapid Intervention Battalion in its acronym BIA. The Senior Divisional Officer emphasized that the state is counting on their youth and patriotism to uphold and defend Cameroon's national integrity. The SDO was speaking at the community field in Limbe after welcoming the trainee second-class soldiers who had completed a 10-day endurance walk. Now take a listen to the SDO in the following excerpt.
Cameroon Army is to defend the state, to defend the integrity of our territory, and they have to work with patriotism. They have to work with a lot of discipline, and that we are proud of that army, and they must be also responsible.
That was the Senior Divisional Officer for FACO, Viang Mekala. In the same light, according to some trainees, completing the task of a 10-day endurance walk could only be possible with tenacity and trust in God. Trainee second-class citizen D. Desmond also spoke to CAM1 Radio and television in the following excerpt.
March 50 kilometers every day, and it's a matter of mentality also. I had the moral in my head. You have to just believe, you have to accept the sufferings.
Issa Makro Issa, the first day that we went out of this gate, I was just praying my God. I just put my trust in God.
We talk something else, we talk religion, as the Feast of Tabaski was widely celebrated by Muslim faithfuls in the Opet city of Limbe. The Imam of the Central Mosque in Limbe urges Muslim faithfuls to follow Ibrahim's example, who was ready to sacrifice his only son Ismail to obey God's command. Here is an excerpt of the Imam in the Limbe Central Mosque.
Become a ritual for us at the end of this prayer, since it's the prayer that is linked with the Hajj, the pilgrimage for the in the house of Allah in Makkah. And every year, as a head of state, we always support the Muslims. And it seems that it's going by increasing, because this year we have received more, 1.5 billion, or we used to receive 1 million. So we use the opportunity to continue to thank the head of state for this kind gesture for the Islamic Ummah, for the Muslim community.
That was the Imam of the Central Mosque here in Limbe. And just to reiterate that the Limbe City Mayor, together with his administrative entourage, were also present to support the Muslims who converged at the Limbe community field. Now take a listen to the Limbe City Mayor, Paul Efombe Ngale Mbole, in the following excerpt.
It's very important that we come and celebrate them, be with them, and also feast with them. So this accompanying them in their celebration is a pleasure to the people of Limbe and I, as the first municipal magistrate in particular. And our relationship shows through our presence in their celebration. So we are a very good relationship with the Muslim community. That is why you see we are always.
That was the Lord City Mayor of Limbe. Ladies and gentlemen, now we talk still in the same light. The Feast of Tabaski has also been celebrated by Muslim faithfuls across the southwest region. And now we are going to the regional capital, Boya, where the Imam of the Central Mosque, Al-Haji Muhammad Abubakar, calls on Muslims and Cameroonians at large to have faith and live exemplary lives. Take a listen to the Imam who was speaking to one of our reporters in Boya.
God had a purpose for creating man. Man must value human life. There are certain aspects in life that people must understand. Faith in God must go with certitude. Abraham spent as many as 80 years childless. He had faith that one day God will bless him with a child. Not only did he have faith, but he also trusted in God. He understood exactly what God wanted of him. And so he prayed that God should not allow him die without a progeny. So because of the trust and faith he had in God, he was compensated. We are calling on Cameroonians to be exemplary persons like of Abraham alayhi salam and his son. We find in his way of life the power of endurance, tolerance, the power of cohesion. Let us be people who are ready to sacrifice one another. We should be ready also to persevere. Let us share love. We think that it is time for us to come together. You know, Ishmael was very healthy, so the ram must be a very healthy ram. It must be of certain age. You cannot take a ram less than 6 months. Sacrifice it is not acceptable, and it must not be defective. It must not be one horn. When you sacrifice it, you share it. One part for family, one part go to your neighbors, the other part is to the needy Muslims who were not able to slaughter.
Al-Haji Muhammad Abubakar, the Imam of the Central Mosque in Boya, talking there. We talk education right now to say education for all children. The time is now was the theme during the commemoration of the Day of the African Child. In the following excerpt, the Chief of Service in charge of child protections at the Regional Delegation of Social Affairs, Benye Sukam, explains and expatiates on the theme, putting it into context.
The theme is inviting us all to lay more emphasis on those aspects that the full implementation. We may have situations like attacks on education that may want to toil with the theme. When we talk of attacks on education, we are talking on those incidents, those acts against or on the learners, the teachers, and the educational structures. And we've been experiencing them in our region in different areas. And so this theme is calling on us all to guard against some of those kind of incidences, some of those kind of actions that may stop some children in Africa not to have access to education, because the theme says for all children. And so if some of those attacks are like intimidating maybe the children from going to school, killing the learners, putting down some of those structures that acted as a host for those teachers or the students, it means they may not be able to have the access. And the time is now. And so we are all called upon to put our hands on deck to ensure that what we have not been doing in the past, let us from now start doing it to ensure that the theme is actually put into full implementation.
The theme to combat desertification, drought, land degradation 2024 is unaltered for one of our land or our legacy, our future, spotlighting the future, our land stewardship. It should be recalled that this initiative was promulgated by the United Nations General Assembly in 1994 to promote awareness of issues linked to desertification. It is to this effect that the Southwest Regional Delegate of Forestry and Wildlife Economy, Delphine, stresses on the effects of the indiscriminate cutting down of trees on the environment and to curb desertification. Now take a listen to her in the following excerpt.
If the forest is destroyed, all the benefits that we derive from the forest will be absent. It means that there will be shortage, there will be food crisis, our environment will be polluted, we will not have enough fuel wood or timber for construction, and our climate will be disturbed. The ecosystem will be imbalanced. All of this will lead to the effects of climate change, which is a cry all over the world. We will have water shortages. It's a big problem in our region, especially in Boya. We should have it in mind that the trees we are enjoying today were planted by our forefathers, or some of them grew naturally. So when you cut a tree, you should enable to plant at least 3 trees. We should not cut trees around a water catchment area in very risky zones. We should instead plant trees around our houses, around our farms, along water channels. So everybody should endeavor to plant trees. We should know that if we continue cutting the trees, killing the animals in an uncontrolled manner, most of the trees and even animal species will extinct. We should respect the forestry laws that states that before you cut a tree, you should have authorization, and to know that if we continue cutting our trees without planting, our forests will disappear. You have areas that used to have trees, today is gradually turning to a desert. So all of us should put our hands on deck and plant trees.
That was the regional delegate of forestry and wildlife here in the southwest region, Ikomi Delphine, who was talking about the theme to combat desertification, drought, and land degradation for 2024, which is United for Our Land, Our Legacy, and Our Future. Now we talk something completely different. The Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, Joseph Le, has highlighted some major changes that will accompany state employee and payroll management systems. The minister was speaking to our correspondent in Yaoundé.
We are putting in place a new system of management of careers and payroll. And we will not stop there. We will go beyond on this. We are also going to put in place a system of biometry to control and master the number of staff of the state, and also control presence in post of duty. Then we will also put in place electronic system to well manage our archives and documents, because our public administration deals with too much paper. If you have a file in an administration today and it takes long, sometimes after, when you come, they tell you that one paper is missing, which is not good because the system is not digitalized. So from now, we want to turn that page and do with another system, a new one, which is the new CGPS. We have started implementing the functioning of that new system. We have been constructing, we have been building, and now we want to let it move. We want to let it function and see if everything is already on the good move.
That was the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, Joseph Le. On to our major lead story and one of our human interest stories of today. A woman was found lifeless yesterday morning in Limbe, precisely in the Upper Mao neighborhood. Her body was mutilated and one of her breasts was chopped off. She is yet to be identified, as her mortal remains was transferred to the mortuary at Mile 1 Health Facility. Investigations are still going on to elucidate this affair. And still on our human interest page, in the small town of Gua, Yangamo, around Garabulai, Cameroon, where whispers carry secrets and the night seems to hold their breath, a tragic tale unfolded, shaking the very foundations of the community. It was in the early hours of the evening when a man whose heart once brimmed with love and trust walked into his home in Gua, Yangamo, a small town around Garabulai, to find his world shattered. He found his wife, the woman he had sworn to love and cherish, entangled in a passionate embrace with another man. They were both naked, the man lying on his back and firing his missile in the woman's most protected arsenal, all while squeezing her bowing but breast milk-filled breasts with remorseless alacrity, as she moaned endlessly, and birds dangled like a group of hanging grapes shaken by winds. Oblivious to the intrusion, they were caught red-handed in the act of betrayal. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. The man's heart was a storm, a whirling of fury and sorrow. His mind was once a sanctuary of happiness, memories now echoed with the bitter truth to infidelity. As Shakespeare wrote, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. But in this instance, it was the scorned man whose wrath will be unleashed. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, he drew a dagger, a symbol of his ancestral heritage, sharp and unyielding. Without a word, he plunged the blade into the heart of his wife's lover, a fatal blow that ended the man's life in an instant. The murderer, now a fugitive, fled the scene, his footsteps echoing the turmoil in his soul. His wife, shaking and drenched in fear, ran to the police, seeking safety and justice amidst the chaos. Her lover's lifeless body was taken to the newly inaugurated Virtual Reference Hospital, a place meant to symbolize hope and healing. Now we witness the devastating consequences of human frailty. And now on to our international page, we're going to talk something completely different. The World Bank has offered Cameroon 300 million US dollars, approximately 132 billion francs CFA through the Local Governance and Resilient Communities Project, prologue to strengthen development in 6 crisis-hit regions in the country. The project was launched by the local Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, George Elanga Obam. Meantime, Bamenda and Mara will henceforth benefit from projects being executed under the French Regional Capitals Project. The inclusion was made during public by the French ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Thierry Marchand. He was speaking as he and members of government signed an agreement to effect a disbursement fund. The Battery Council in the Kade division of the East region has launched an innovative initiative for citizens inclusion, which will see some 2,000 persons get free national identity cards in the coming days. The ambitious project, dubbed Citizenship for All Cameroonians, which is in its second phase, was launched last week, Tuesday. A renowned Cameroonian scholar and social critic Akaba James has clinched the coveted We Rise Together award. The Cameroonian who sits atop Open Dreams Cameroon, a non-profit educational organization, was singled out for his outstanding contributions in improving access and enriching the lives of students in Cameroon and beyond. Meantime, the government has loaded the gains made by since the introduction of more modern and integrated computerized payments and management systems for civil servants. The note of satisfaction was made by the Minister of Public Service and Administrative, Joseph Leu, which we earlier talked about today. Now, on to our international page. Israel's government says it is looking to strengthen Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank after several countries unilaterally recognized Palestinian state. And a case of dangerous and highly fatal bacterial infection have reached record levels in Japan. Official figures show, with experts so far unable to pinpoint the reasons for the rise. As of June 2nd, Japan's health ministry had recorded 977 cases of streptococcal toxic shock syndrome, which has a mortality rate of up to 30%. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has disbanded the country's war cabinet. An Israeli official told us here Netanyahu's decision comes after opposition leader Benny Gantz announced his withdrawal from the body last week, and National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir's request to rejoin. A fire in Los Angeles County that forced the evacuation of hundreds of people from a state park has burned nearly 15,000 acres. Authorities have actually said this in a statement as the fire continues to persist. Then last year, the FBI estimated the online scams run out of Southeast Asia stole nearly 4 billion US dollars from tens of thousands of Americans, a 53% increase from the year before. There are countless victims of massive global criminal operation, predominantly run by Chinese gangs who have built a multi-billion-dollar scam industry using an army of scammers in Southeast Asia. Many held against their will in guarded compounds and are forced to con poor people all around the world out of their life savings. Investigation is still ongoing to still elucidate this affair in Southeast Asia. And the Atlantic hurricane season is ready to kick into gear with 2 potential tropical threats this week, one of which will deliver drenching rainfall and serious flood threats to parts of Mexico, Central America, and the US. The most imminent tropical hotspot is the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we draw a curtain to this edition of the news on CAM1 Radio, the People's Radio. The frequency, of course, is 99.5 FM. I was your presenter, Comrade Charles Abade. See you same time, same place tomorrow on this particular network.